and got injured.
Oh my God.
And yes, and my
Oh
reasoning
my
is,
God.
yeah, it's like, why is he there? Even with a glove, they're not ready to face those type of balls. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to another edition of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm with, again, Brianna Ludwig, co-host. She's been helping along this podcast. I want to talk about some news that we're working on at Foul Ball Safety Now. Brendan and I discovered something a couple of days ago, which was thought-provoking. It showed that there's some problems with some nets. Balls are going through nets. So there's actually somebody put it out on Twitter or X where the ball actually went through the net. So we actually have a photo. Juan Soto of the New York Mets hit a ball that went through a net, and somebody who was in that area took a picture of it. So that's worthy of raising questions whether the materials they're using for the nets are strong enough. And if their materials are not appropriate, then maybe they need to go back to the drawing board and revisit how the nets are. But again, I'm not happy with the way the business is being done in general on the status quo. I mean, if people go to my website, Foul Ball Safety Now, in 2019, after that ESPN video aired, that 5-minute video, which told the world, hey, people, don't sit in those sections. And then it took 2.5 years for MLB to make an announcement about the teams that had the status quo of no netting in those sections would give them 2.5 years to take care of the problem. So from 2019 to 2025, there's still 30 to 40 cities in America that still do not have netting with the dugouts in. Shame on all of us for not addressing this a lot sooner. But that being said, I continue to watch the game. We remain in healthy aggression at Foul Ball Safety Now. We try to put things in front of people so they can see the writing on the wall for themselves and hopefully then get involved. Just know that we're paying attention to this, and you guys can as well. I'm excited to bring on a guest, a European TV host, Ann Kukaholi. Ann, how are you today?
I'm very good, and I'm so excited to be here because I was digging deep into your work. I have so many questions that I think we could do 3-hour marathon, but let's try to keep it a little bit shorter.
We really appreciate it. And if people don't realize, what we do is we turn the tables, we let our guests ask us the questions. And if you're ready, take it on.
I'm so ready. First, when I was, exploring this whole thing, my attitude is usually playful and I want to have like the fun part of it and all those things. But as I was reading about your work, I went quite deep. I know the reason why you started doing this and taking care of the safety and everything. I would like to know, in your words, how deeply this has been affecting you, after the girl had the injury and you started to take action. You poured your heart, your world around the safety of this game. That is something that I respect so much because, of course, it's about the fans, but it's also about the players and what's happening in their mind if somebody gets injured. I would like to know your perspective of that. How did the players cope with this?
Well, thanks for the kind words. And yes, my instincts in 2019 was to step up because I grew up playing baseball. I love baseball. It's my favorite game. I was affected, and I felt like the baseball community, people like me, and certainly people within the game should start doing something about this. So I've been at this for 6 years. The players, I would love to give them a pass because, of course, they feel bad. Everyone feels bad if a child gets injured by a foul ball.
Mhm.
But the players and the union, they've had every opportunity to draw a line in the sand or say something like, it's a non-starter and we're not going to go to work and hit balls at kids. And until the situation changes, we're not going to work. So I feel like the players' union, we've learned, it came up a few times in collective bargaining, that the players asked the owners for extended netting, and maybe their request wasn't fulfilled. But I don't think the players fought hard enough to get the netting in place where it should have been for years. We heard something about 4 separate times in collective bargaining, and collective bargaining is a negotiation between the players' union and the owners about better working conditions, about more pay, about a lot of things, I guess. And one
Mhm.
of those issues were the netting. I haven't seen any of the minutes or any of those recorded conversations. Love to, because then, as spectators, as we are just trying to put our understanding on all of this, we'll get a sense if the baseball players and their union did try hard enough. But in my mind, I don't think they have, because one example I would give is if there was, let's say, a bricklayers union, I don't think the rank and file would allow their members to use tainted product. Like, let's say they were building a building and the cement they were using was like an inferior product. I don't think the bricklayers union would allow their rank and file to use that product because it would be heavy on the mines. It would be heavy on the mines for those workers that they're building a building, but they know that the cement is kind of going to dissolve, and every so often the bricks will come raining down. I don't think that would be considered by the rank and file to allow their workers to go to work with a tainted product. So that's one example I have.
There's gonna be so many different angles to this, but you were talking about, when we started, that the nets that something went through, they are not safe, obviously, completely.
Right.
They're doing their best, and you've been doing amazing work around this, but there's still something to improve, obviously. I hope that will happen, but, how do you feel about, because I know when somebody gets the ball, I mean, in a good way, not to the face or whatever. That's a treasure. Everybody wants to get them. Is there kind of like situation that fans kind of like are against the net, or maybe they're trying to find a loophole or be seated in the area that they might be getting the ball, as a souvenir or whatever you want to
Right.
call it?
Right. Just a quick follow-up. The netting, we don't know. We wrote a letter to the Mets a couple of days ago. That's where the ball went through the net, and we did get a response that our letter would be passed on to the appropriate department. So I'm sure the netting company's intent is to stop the ball. So I'm not saying there's any sort of I'm not questioning that the integrity of the netting
Hmm.
is inferior, but it's worthy of investigation, worthy of trying to figure out maybe the netting needs a little bit of further examination about how
Hmm.
strong it may be. Now, with the baseball fans coming to the games, most of the people that have attended baseball games, you will see kids bringing gloves to baseball games, adults bringing gloves to baseball games with the
Hmm.
purpose of trying to catch a ball. So they associate the foul ball experience with fun. I have no doubt
Exactly.
about that. Not about defending their life. It's more about, I hope I catch a ball. Most people, I was thinking about this not too long ago. I would say that if there are 10 foul balls that hit people's glove, I don't think they're catching the ball. It's hitting off their glove. They're not professionals. Balls are coming at them at 100. People catch balls, but it's usually after it hits something or someone's glove. And then it's on the floor.
Exactly.
And then that lucky person picks up the ball. Because if gloves were the answer, I would say everyone should have a glove. But little kids who are 11 or 12, there's one example of a ball. They have these home run hitting contests at the All-Star games every year. And what they'll do is there'll be people in the outfield over the fence waiting for those balls to come with gloves. Everyone has gloves. But they
Hmm.
also line up the outfield, people on the field little leaguers, 11 and 12-year-olds, to if the balls don't make it over the fence, well, maybe it'll make it to that little boy or girl. But these 11 and 12-year-olds are not ready to be in front of 100-mile-an-hour balls in the outfield, let alone over the fences. So they had kids out in the outfield, and 2 years ago, a boy got hit in the face and got injured.
Oh my god.
And yes, and my
Oh
reasoning
my
is,
god.
yeah, it's like, why is he there? Even with a glove, they're not ready to face those type of balls. Maybe if they were 18 or 16, but little children, they're not ready to face these straight balls, even when they're ready. And this is hundreds of feet away, 200 feet away or so. They're not ready.
Exactly.
And they're putting kids in a position to potentially get hurt. It doesn't really add up.
Yeah, I was thinking, what are the parents thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, moms and dads, why on earth they allow this?
I mean, sadly, most parents have no idea, and I can speak on this because I'm a parent. Before I met Jordan, I had no idea that this was even a thing. The MLB doesn't do anything to try and educate people with a prevention mindset. And so I'm in LA, just like you, and
Mhm.
Dodgers, we have the Angels, and it's kind of a tradition to just go to the baseball game. It's something to do. It's definitely marketed towards families, and I would have taken my son had I not known. And now that I know, I don't feel it's an ethical decision to bring my son to a game until they can guarantee that there is no risk, and they're not able to guarantee that at this time.
Exactly. And I completely agree because in Finland, for example, hockey, I remember this one child, maybe a teenager, was hit by the hockey thing, and he lost all his teeth, but he was happy to have that anyway. So he's
Right,
holding that like a trophy. So it has
right.
a little bit like twisted situation, in people's
Like a
minds
badge of
that
honor,
yeah,
yeah,
badge of honor, you wanna sell it maybe, and that's another thing I was thinking. Are there
yeah.
people that want to have the ball and maybe even though it would be a rookie or something, in the future they can, sell it with a big price or something?
Right, that's true. Most of the balls are more personal memorabilia that people yearn to catch a ball. I caught a ball, but it was off a rebound about 10, 15 years ago, and I finally got my first foul ball, and it may have rolled down the stairs, and I picked it up, and I was like, "Hooray, hooray." And I remember I had a T-shirt in my hand because it was, like, free T-shirt night, and I threw my T-shirt to the next fan. I was like, "I have a ball, I don't need this T-shirt," because I was so excited, like, "Who needs a
Yeah,
T-shirt? I have a ball." And I was almost like I
exactly.
was in the moment. It's like, you could have everything that's on my body, but I have the ball. And that was my attitude.
Exactly.
I had an exhilaration. I did experience that exhilaration one time, and that was my statement in the moment. So people, you see them jumping up and down. You see them celebrating their own experience. They finally experienced it. It took me a long time. I finally experienced it, and that was my reaction. I had a T-shirt and I tossed
Yes.
it. I was like, I don't need this. I have this. So everyone has their own moment. That was my moment. So that's it. The first time I'm
Do
telling that story.
do you still have the ball?
I do not. That's how important. I just don't know where it is. I think it was the Arizona Diamondbacks player. I didn't know who it was. By the time the night ended, I lost the sentimentality. I don't know. It was in the moment. I think it's really in the moment. But
Of
maybe if
course.
you're 11 years old, then you put it in the glass in the jar forever. I
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Actually, I'm super interested
Yes.
about the mental health about the players in that sense
Yeah.
that, of course, they are under huge pressure to entertain, to be the best in the game, to do everything that they can, and then when something really bad happens, how
Right.
do they cope? Has there been like because I know you're writing a book, right?
We're putting together a lot of information. The literary world is curious about what we have, and I have a feeling at some point in time, we'll meet the right publisher that's gonna see exactly what we've been writing about and what we have. They'll figure out the direction we need to go to finish a book. Yes.
Yes, yes. But, so h how do you see, how the players cope with this? So let's say something really, serious happens, and of
Yes,
course, I understand you have a really good psychologist, everything that, can help around, but,
sure,
it's still in your own head, and you need to cope with it for the rest of your life. Let's say,
sure.
something really happened because I read this quite a few, very serious situations. Two people have been died even
Right.
during all those years. How do the players cope with the pressure being, giving the best performance, and also if something like this happens? Do you have stories about that? Because that is so interesting.
Sure. You raise a really interesting question. I believe that the team healthcare professionals, the psychologists, there's a little bit of a conflict because if they have too much of a one-on-one discussion with the baseball player who hit the child, I'm not sure exactly the feedback they can give to the baseball player to reassure them about feeling better about the experience. Because
Yeah.
I believe the team psychologist should definitely be in the ear of that particular player who feels like it's their fault. If they're not in their ear that day telling them, hey, man, it could have been any one of us or any one of the players. So don't put it upon yourself and you got to move on. If they're not telling them that, then I feel like that's an injustice to the player because they should not
Absolutely.
be the ones to absorb it all. But then on the other hand, management who's paying the team psychologist, I'm not really sure what the remedy is. What can the
Yeah.
psychologist tell the baseball player? That it won't happen again? No, they really can't tell
No.
them that because it's part of the workplace environment. I really believe the only two things that a psychologist can offer the player is one, you need to get together with your brothers and sisters, if
Yes.
it's co-ed, to say, "Hey, we're not going to work until you guys protect the fans." Or if you don't have the power to do that, or if that's not an option right now, well, then you can quit. Because who would blame you to say, "I don't wanna go to work and hit balls at babies," you know?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
if the team psychologist told them that, I don't think the management would like that. I don't think management would say, "Wait a second, Mr. Psychologist. We just paid
Mm-hmm.
this guy a $500,000 signing bonus, and
Mm-hmm.
now he's on leave? No. Let him
Exactly.
wallow. Let him sit alone in the corner. He'll get over it." And I
Oh
think
my God.
that's I don't know. I didn't say that, did I? Maybe I did. But I'm implying that that is what the status quo that's business as usual, and that's
Well,
unhealthy.
what I would imagine would be that
Yeah,
the support of the other players is the most important thing. That of course because they are so tight. Whatever ball game it is, because I know hockey a lot, that they treat the situation like as a group. So I think the peer support is very important. Not only the psychologists or
right.
professionals, but the other players. Those things are interesting. It would be so interesting to hear a player's story, how they cope mentally,
Right.
because, of course, it's one game and then you need to move on to the next one and you need to reboot yourself and everything, but it's still in your head and it might affect your capability to play even.
Sure. Sure.
Because you have this fear, behind your, somewhere in your mind, even though you try to get rid of that fear. So I think, the other players play big role helping out the actual accident that happened. So I'm actually pretty sure that that is the most important thing for them.
Yeah, what we do is we classify it as an incident, not an accident, because if there's a
Mm,
difference in the dictionary on that one, because accidents are maybe preventable and incidents are predictable. I'm not sure exactly what the definition is. But that being said, Brendan and I, the journalists I've been working with now for 6 years at Foul Ball Safety Now, and if people haven't seen the website yet, we want you to go look at everything we've done over the last 6 years. We've interviewed, Ann, more than 30 baseball players. We have a sense of how they feel, and they have an indirect accountability for their own role in this. They don't necessarily say it's because of me and us, because of why kids and others are getting smashed by foul balls, but they do feel some sense of responsibility from their own history within the game. They've told their own parents to sit behind games, that they've admitted to us. That's also in newspaper articles that you can find, maybe some on Foul Ball Safety Now. We haven't disclosed, we haven't put out our interviews with more than 30 baseball players as of yet. But we do know that they want to get the monkey off their back, and they're ready to
Mhm.
start sharing their own accountability with this. We even have something on the website called the Healing Project because we're ready. We believe at some point in time there are going to be thousands of players that are finally ready to address their own role in the game. Many guys played between
Exactly.
10 and 20 years. So we're here to hear them formally tell us our own parents were sitting here, but at the same time, we knew others were at risk. And I'll say thank you for sharing. That's what we're doing. We're just trying to put everything in its perspective. And
Yes,
that's and
yes.
I think we'll eventually get there.
So tell me a little bit more about
Yes.
this healing project because that's it hits me. That sounds so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because you can spread it out to different topics as well, not only
Yeah.
things this. So tell me a little bit about that.
We have something up at the website at Fallible Safety Now called the Healing Project.
Mm-hmm.
No one formally has taken part in it, but we do believe since we've interviewed more than 30 baseball players, it was time to set up a page, the Healing Project. Because once baseball players know that this is a topic of conversation, they'll feel more comfortable finding us at Fallible Safety Now and formally telling us their own role in the game. Because they have admitted telling their own families to sit in certain sections, but they weren't able to get on the public address and tell everybody else. That in itself is a contradiction or a conflict.
Yes.
So that's it. And people Brendan and I have interviewed have told us stories. Some of the players had their own personal experiences hitting people. Most had experiences seeing other people getting hit from some of their teammates. So, but
Mm-hmm.
they shared those experiences with us. And some people are coming to this conversation for the first time. I was able to find more than 30 baseball players because a lot of these former baseball players, they're not millionaires. They're working hard for a living. They may own baseball academies or they're private instructors. So when you email 3 or 400 people, you know what? 30 or 40 guys are interested or curious to have a conversation with you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we've done and we'll
And
continue.
yes, and also now that we are living in this kind of like cruel era with the social media and everything, that even though the player, let's say, regrets and tries to do everything, for the safety and protect people and very proactive in that sense. I'm pretty sure they are targeted in social media as well because even I do, as much you get love, you get
Yes.
hate, and whatever you do, people start talking about you. Your every little micro expression on your face will be analyzed, and this is something that I feel very strongly because I'm in that same situation, of course, completely different field. I feel so sorry for these players because life is cruel. It's so entertaining for people to see people suffer, almost like this cancel culture. That if, let's say, the player didn't say the right word in the beginning because they were in shock or whatever, and they need to deal with that burden in addition to creating the horrible situation to a fan. So, have you heard anything about that? Have you thought about that? Is it going to be in your book? Is it in a healing project to deal with the social media and the haters and so forth?
I think our conversation is authentic, and I think everyone who comes to us, the unbiased truth seekers. So I call us, the people that are just interested in hearing a story, how it came about, and where is it going. We have one example of the video, which we call Exhibit A from 2019 on the website produced by ESPN. It had 700,000 views and it had 4,000 comments. And certainly it's a great beginning to have a discussion because a lot of people
Mhm.
are engaged. But out of those 4,000 comments, most of them, I would say 80% of them, they were biased. 80% of those 4,000 comments were still blaming the fan
Oh,
or
wow.
saying things like, "Oh, people need to pay attention. Oh, they need to get off their phone. Oh, they need to watch their kids." But watch
Mhm.
the video and you'll get a sense that we're not superheroes. And whether we're staring without blinking, we're not in any position to get out of the way or defend ourselves or our families from those balls. And unfortunately, that's the baseball audience. So they may have some bias. They're not really looking at objectively or clearly. But there's also 80 million people in America that may not like baseball, and they're more of the unbiased truth seekers. And they're
Mhm.
interested in this journey and this story that we're trying to get out there. So everyone else could stare at it once and for all and understand that business as usual was wrong now. It's been wrong then, it's wrong now. And we're still in a place where most baseball fans haven't really gotten the appropriate memo about information that's been kept from them year after year. Baseball's had winter after winter to finally come up with messaging that would enlighten the fans about the true dangers. Not when you're at the game about a sign that may even be right in front of you telling you be careful of a foul ball. But,
Exactly.
but why are you there to begin with? When did you ever see children on construction sites without helmets? Or children on
Exactly.
any construction site, period.
True,
So,
true, true. This is just like, when we're talking about this particular time at the moment, it's going to be bigger and more cruel. Also, I'm sure there's a lot of empathy and understanding, but this was something that, came to my mind when I was reading all about this and, with the mental health and possibly some players might feel like, I need to stop because I can't handle the mental pressure of the hate or comments or whatever it is. Or in some good cases, it can help them. So I really hope, this conversation and, everything you've done will direct public opinion into that
yeah,
direction that, they're just doing their work, they're doing their best, they're doing whatever they can. And also try to work for the safety all the time. But because it's a game,
yeah.
everything can happen.
We believe every week we're doing these conversations that new people are going to find out about this, and maybe there will be a major influencer that comes along who's a popular baseball player, past or present. But
Mhm.
eventually, I think they'll all be receptive to their own accountability. We're all human beings. Brendan and I were successful. We interviewed more than 30 baseball players. So they were open to having an honest discussion with us about their own role, about their teams and their own experiences as players. Most of them were past players, but it's like getting the monkey off their back for the first time. And
Yes,
that's what the
yes.
Healing Project can eventually do.
Maybe I was
Yeah.
thinking, also the resistance of the
Yes.
audience for the safety. I was surprised that, it's not mandatory to have the safety nets in every stadium, in every place. So there's like few cities that still don't have these safety measurements. Is there like resistance from the fan side, government or cities or something like why is this
Right.
happening that, the safety is not number one in
Right.
particularly in this game.
Well, again, I think history will show that baseball was unregulated, so there was no oversight. deciding how far, high, and wide the nets needed to be. Business as usual in 2025, I've been following, I think the calculation is 199 teams. So there's 30 major league clubs like the Yankees and the Mets, and then there's
Mhm.
169 other professional clubs. The balls are flying inside ballparks, even with nets. They're flying over nets or they're flying above nets and still hitting people with major impact. All these 169 ballparks, all these other 30 major league ballparks, they all need sort of like an independent netting council to come in and decide how far, how high, far, and wide the nets need to be. So no unanswered questions will remain. It'll be like, okay, we have this covered, we have this covered. This is age appropriate, this is not. All these
Mhm.
things need to take place. Until that, the unknown factors remain. All Brianna and Brendan and I can do is put the unknown factors on the table. That is management guaranteeing us a free, safe experience today? You know, that kind of thing. And I don't think they can
Exactly.
do that anywhere. And that's not only inside the ballpark, it's outside. 169 of these ballparks clearly have balls flying out over the sides into parking lots. We got contacted by a law firm a few months ago. There was a woman in Modesto, California. I'll be putting up in the next day or two, guys, on the website, a section about Modesto. 2 years ago, a ball flew outside in the parking lot. Now, if 5 or 10 or 15 balls in a 3 hour period are reaching over the sides, they're going to hit something. It's going to break a car window. It's going to bounce on the concrete. Or you know what? Sometimes it's going to hit somebody in the head. And that's what it did in California. Business as usual is allowing balls to fly outside of ballparks and just potentially hitting somebody within a 3 hour period? Yes. And we're dealing with a Queens College scenario. And you guys can go right now to the Foul Ball Safety Now website and look at our Queens College investigation. A student athlete is worried. He's 20 years old. Maybe he's 22 now. I was contacted by a student athlete a year or so ago. I decided after a few months of thinking about it that I was going to get in touch with Queens College. So we wrote them in May. They're worried amongst themselves that a ball could hit potentially a school student because the elementary school is on the campus of the baseball field and the balls are going over the side during practice and during games. And these guys are worried about hurting kids. And I can understand. So please, everyone, check out those letters. We'll be following up soon. We eventually believe this is going to create a national forum because these 169 professional ballparks, they're allowed to conduct business with balls flying outside and the sides. And it's not automatic that somebody who gets hurt is going to get any kind of compensation either because of this thing called the baseball rule, which is worthy of another conversation, where
Mhm.
baseball pads themselves from liability from balls that hit people inside ballparks and outside. So there's really a lot here, Ann. I mean, you're bringing up some
Oh my
great
god,
questions.
yes.
Maybe we'll
It's
have a part two. Maybe we'll have a part
maybe we need
two.
to because I was thinking about the
Yeah.
insurance companies and all these kind of like things, there must be so much going on. But I also I wanna say my appreciation to your work because when I was going through and reading everything, you've done so much. It's something that is like universal. It's not only about this game. I think it's, touching so much more. So I just want to thank you personally doing this and dedicating your time. And I can't wait for the book. I can't wait for the, new stuff that is coming on the site. I'm now regular. I'm gonna go there all the time reading everything. So,
Thank you.
I hope the readers and the, people who are listening to this, I will of course, link everybody to
We
my friends.
welcome
Exactly.
everyone to come along and see what we're doing, and there's no egos here. I've done things, I've spent my own money, I've rented out airplanes to make statements, 5
I
separate
know.
times. I
I
but we welcome anyone else who might wanna make some statements as well, whatever is in your power, whether you wanna sign petitions, whether you wanna rent airplanes. You can find me at Foul Ball Safety Now.
Thank you so much, Anne, for joining us today. I'm so curious to know, coming from Europe, what was your first impression of baseball? And how has that changed, and what is your impression now?
So, of course, we play baseball in Finland as well and in Europe, but maybe because the scale is so much bigger here. And also, maybe my perspective, the European perspective, is always like America, everybody sues everybody. So that was something that I was interested, what's going to happen if the ball hits, maybe somebody can misuse this as well. Okay, now my car has a little hit. I'm going to sue, the team or whatever. So that was maybe something I was kind of like thinking about, American version of baseball, because it's, of course, a game that we play as well a lot in Finland, but we don't have that culture that you have. In that sense, that was something that was super interesting to me. But also, insurance work there's these people in every field that, give their passion and, they try to make a change. They try to do everything they can in their power, and they have very deep and very touching stories. So, and because this is a big country, so you have the possibility and the platform to spread awareness and also keep the conversation flowing. That's why I was so honored to be part of this podcast. Even though I'm a complete outsider, I feel a little bit I'm an insider now.
Perfect. You are. And you know more. There's 80 million baseball fans, and more than 79 of them have not got 79 million of them, unfortunately, have not gotten the memo of potentially feeling certain ways. And we want to get to those folks. They may think of their memories in a certain way. They may think about going to the games today in a certain way. And if we can do that, terrific. I still think we're in the dark ages in 2025. Of course, I hope in 10 years from now we can all say, you remember those dark ages back in 2025? Wouldn't that be lovely? We can transition this game into something that has real value and integrity. Unfortunately, all of that stuff is missing until we address these issues. I really want to thank you, Ann. This was really insightful. You made us go into these territories, which I'm glad we did, and maybe we'll do it again real soon. So, I guess I'll say goodbye for now. I want everyone to go to foulballsafetynow.com.
Absolutely.
It was really, really nice to connect, and we shall do it again soon.